greatest video games often make you forget about the world around you. It pulls you into its world, and the music that you hear, the sound effects, the graphics, the story you get told, you're just so engrossed in it that you forget that you're actually a living human being in a body. I think the best video games are the ones that stay with you long after the credits roll, and I want to share with you guys my top 10 greatest video games of all time that I've played. This is my list that I made, and if you don't like it, it's too fucking bad. So at number 10, Red Dead Redemption 2. I mean, this game is absolutely captivating. It starts off a bit slow. The tutorial was a bit long. The world is absolutely gorgeous. There is so much to do. It makes riding a horse fun, which is just, it's a very repetitive motion, just pressing an X button. You'd think it wouldn't be that fun, but it is. And it has the single greatest story in any video game I've ever played. From the moment it starts to the moment it ends, the story is just absolutely building the entire time, and at the end is just perfect. It caps it off in a magnificent way. I've played Red Dead Redemption, the first one, and John Marston was such an amazing main character. He was one of the most unforgettable main characters of the time in 2009 of the PS3 and Xbox 360 generation. And I remember thinking, Red Dead Redemption 2, this guy named Arthur Morgan, how is he gonna compete with John Marston? What's he gonna do? What's he gonna, like, shoot gold out of his ass? He can't ever compete with John Marston, and I was so wrong to say that, because Arthur Morgan is also one of the greatest main characters of his generation. The people at Rockstar did an amazing job with that game. I think it's by far the greatest game Rockstar ever made is Red Dead 2. And at number 9 is the first video game I ever played, and to this day I'll still go back and play it every now and then, Age of Empires 2. In my opinion, the greatest real-time strategy game ever made. The people at Ensemble Studios really hit it out of the water with this one. This game, to this day, is getting remakes just because it's got such a big cult following. Every single aspect of this game is just so much fun. From the civilizations you can choose from, you can choose the Byzantines to the Chinese to the Turks to the Mongols to the Persians. And then they released some expansions later on, the Conquerors. The music for Age of Empires 2 is just so good, man. Sometimes still, I will go and I'll find a YouTube video of Age of Empires 2 music track, and I'll just put it on the background when I'm doing something else. Just because it's so catchy, and it really just puts you back into the mindset of playing that game. Everything about it, like, you start from having a little town center most of the time, and then you build and you expand your army, your resources. You become this incredible civilization by the end of the game. And it's just so much fun. The combat is so good, man. It's just addicting. And there are so many different ways to play the game. There are desert warfares. There are maps that are completely naval-based. My favorite civilization to play when I played that game was, I hate to admit this, was the Byzantines. I say that as a Turkish person. I think the Byzantines had the best knights in that game, and it was just, you got those guys and you just wrecked through everything else. The Persians had the elephants, which were also goated, but the Byzantines were pretty sick too. At number 8 is the single most underrated game of all time, in my opinion, Journey. This game is a little 2-hour-long game. It's very short, but it's incredibly sweet. It came out on the PS3 as a network exclusive for, like, I think it was 10 or 15 bucks at the time. And oh my god, it is absolutely unforgettable. Absolutely amazing on every level. If you haven't played Journey and you own a PlayStation, at the end of this video, you have to buy that game and play it. You got to get a great pair of headphones and just sit down for 2 hours and play that game, because it will change your life. You play as this little, small, robed creature who's lost in a desert. No instructions given to you. Nothing is told to you. You just progress forward. And the music in this game is just absolutely incredible. I can't say enough good things about the music. I mean, you're seeing kind of a pattern here. Music, I think, is such an important theme in video games. It's got to engross you. It really helps in making everything better. But man, when it comes to Journey, it is absolutely phenomenal. It's probably the only game on this list that isn't really focused on killing, but it's more so focused on the emotional aspect of it. And it invokes emotions in you that you didn't even know you had. By the end of the game, I was actually crying. I was shedding tears. And that's just what it does to you, man. It's so good. I cannot recommend it enough. If you haven't tried it out, definitely try it out. At number 7 is Sekiro Shadows Die Twice. I was thinking of maybe saying Bloodborne here because I'm a huge Dark Souls fan and all the games from Software, Soulsborne, Bloodborne, all those games. But I think Sekiro takes the cake simply because the combat in this game is just so good, man. It rewards aggression in so many Dark Souls games and Bloodborne as well. Dodging is something you do all the time. You're always dodging to avoid hits, and the bosses are incredibly hard. In Sekiro, there is dodging, but if you play as a dodger, it punishes you, and it rewards you for being aggressive. When you learn the combat system, it's a dance, and it's so incredibly addicting and satisfying. Whenever you win any combat battle, you just get this insanely incredible high. You play as this guy named Sekiro, or Wolf, who is somewhere in Japan. I forget exactly what time period it is. And you have this ability where you can kind of revive yourself after you die. It is the hardest single-player video game I've ever played in my entire life, by far. And I say that as someone who's beaten all the FromSoft games multiple times. This game is fucking hard. It's the only FromSoft game I actually quit at one point. It's about midway in the game. There's a boss called Genichiro, and I was stuck on this guy for, I'm not even joking you, 2 weeks. I couldn't beat him because I was fighting him like a Dark Souls player. I was just dodging him, and I wasn't parrying him, which is what you're supposed to do. And I quit the game. But a few months later, I came back, and I finally beat him. And then I figured out the combat, and I'm like, oh my god, this is amazing. The final boss of the game, Ishin the Sword Saint, to this day is the hardest video game boss I've ever beaten. That guy is insanely hard. No one in Elden Ring, in Dark Souls, in Bloodborne, in any video game that I've played holds up a candle to that guy. That guy is legendary, insanely difficult. At number 6, we got Rocket League. This game, I have a really, really big love-hate relationship with. Yesterday, I actually uninstalled this game again. This is such a pisser of a game. It pisses me off like nothing else. You'll have times where you win 10, 15 games in a row, and then you lose 10, 15 games in a row. If you don't know what it is, it's literally soccer with high rocket-powered cars. And it's as crazy as it sounds. It's a very high-speed and fast-paced game. Each game is only 5 minutes long, so it's a very short and sweet kind of thing. I have over 500 hours in Rocket League. I'm a Diamond 2 rank. I'm pretty good at the game myself, but oh my god, sometimes you will get matched with the worst teammates and you lose the game because of them, and it pisses me off like nothing else. I played this game for so many years and I keep coming back to it just because it's so much fun at the end of the day. Like, the thrill of scoring a goal in Rocket League is amazing. It's so satisfying when you actually score. Anytime I score any kind of goal, whether it's lucky off a face-off or off across the field or an aerial, I'm just so ecstatic and happy because it has that satisfaction factor of the game. Oh my god, and when you go into overtime, and sometimes it's like 2-3 minute long overtime periods, and you know you have to win, you can't make any small mistakes. The slightest mistake anyone makes loses you the game, and it's just a real dick punch if your teammate or you happens to make that one slight mistake. The stakes get incredibly high and you don't want to lose. If you've seen my old streams of me playing Rocket League, I am full on raging, like yelling so loud the mic is giving bad feedback because I am just so angry at what's going on, and that game makes me rage like nothing else, but I still love it. It's great. Playing Rocket League is like having a wife who you love dearly, near and dear to your heart. She's the best thing that's ever happened to you. Everything about her is perfect. She's a 10. She is the nicest person ever. She has the greatest sex. Everything is amazing about her. But every 5 minutes, she punches you square in the mouth. Every 5 minutes. She just goes, boom! No matter what you're doing, whether it's mid-sex, whether you're eating, whether you're sleeping, just boom! But you love her anyway. And that's what it's like to be a Rocket League player. At number 5, the very first rated M game I ever owned, Prince of Persia Warrior Within. I owned this game first time on the PS2. I was 9 years old when I got it, so probably not the best idea on my parents' part. But man, I've beaten this game at least 7 times. I loved it. It was such an amazing game. It's one of the first games I played where it was actual blood and actual cutting heads off and chopping bodies in half. The prince, the main character, he can run across walls, do crazy aerials and acrobatics. The music of this game is just perfect for what the theme is trying to do. It's a very badass music theme, and it just makes you feel like you are the main character, and you just run through anything and anyone. You fight bosses that are like 20 times your size, and you destroy them. And it's just a guy filled with so much rage, and he's on a mission, and nothing is gonna stop him. And you happen to be him. And there are just so many twists and turns in the story. It came out first on the PS2, then it was remastered for the PS3 and for the PC as well. I really, really do hope they bring the Prince of Persia series back at some point, just because it's such an incredible series, and it just really pains me to see Ubisoft ignoring it and keep making the same Assassin's Creed games, man. Focus on Prince of Persia. You have such an amazing main character here, an amazing gameplay you can do. I hope to God they come back to it, because it would be an incredible disservice if they didn't make another Prince of Persia game. At number 4, we got the game that I put the most hours in my entire life, Dota 2. This game ruined my life in my first year of university because I did nothing but play this game. I didn't go to class. I didn't study. I didn't have any other hobbies. I didn't have a job. All I did was wake up, eat, play Dota 2, watch Dota 2 YouTube videos, and repeat. That was my life for the entirety of my first year of university. There were times in a weekly period I was putting in 60 hours into this game. 60 hours in 1 week. That's how obsessed I was, because this game is an ocean deep pool. It's incredibly vast. It's massive. There is so much going on. The meta I was playing at, each game took 40 to 50 minutes. You can play as one character per game, and there was 120 different characters to choose from. If you play a character 15 to 20 times, you kind of got the hang of it, of playing that character well. So mastering every character was an impossible task. That would take an ungodly amount of time. The pros of Dota 2, they don't play every character. They play certain groups of characters, like the carries will play carries, and the supports play supports. Because no one can be good at every character in the game. It's impossible. My main character in the game was Bloodseeker. If you play Dota 2, you know who that is. He was a speedster. There were so many different variations to play that game. It's a MOBA. League of Legends copied it, and League of Legends can suck it. I don't like League of Legends. I think it's just a cheap knockoff that's easier for new players to grasp. But Dota 2, man, absolutely amazing. Plus, they had a giant esports scene. I remember the International, to this day, is the highest paid prize pool out of any other esports competition by a mile. I think they had like a $40 million prize pool at one point. The team at Valve, the guys who made Dota 2, did a very, very good thing where they would release this compendium every year that gave players skins and other cosmetics in game. And it would cost 15 or 20 bucks. 25% of that would go towards the prize pool of the International, of the biggest Dota tournament of the year. So the community was literally backing it up over and over again every year. They kept buying the compendium, and the prize pool would rise, which in turn makes your community stronger, and it makes your pro players paid more. So they had a great strategy, so all hats off to them. But that game ruined my life for my first year of university. That game just, man, like lifesteal was at 100% with that game. No lie. At number 3, The Last of Us. The greatest game, I think, on the PS3. This was the very first game I remember playing where I was looking forward to the cutscenes. Before, I'd always be like, oh yeah, action, hack and slash, shoot the gun, you know, give me the enemies. But this game just wraps you in its story, and it makes you care so deeply for the characters. Joel and Ellie had an amazing character dynamic of like a father and daughter that weren't actually related, and the world around them was just such a bleak and dark and destitute place, and all they had was each other. Death is lurking at every corner. You meet certain NPCs or certain side characters, and you see what their fate is. And you're praying the entire time that Joel and Ellie don't meet that same fate. The ending of the game, I think, was perfect, and the lead up to it was also amazing because you understand each character's motivations and why they do what they do, but you can't help but feel bad about it because at the end of the day, everyone's human, right? Those people are still human, and they show the humanity of each character so incredibly well. The show was absolutely amazing. I think Pedro Pascal and what was the girl? Bella Ramsey. They did an amazing job at their characters and portraying what we saw in the game on the TV screen. The Last of Us 2 was also a friggin' incredible game, but it wasn't the same as the first one. The dynamic was completely different in the second game. But man, I will never forget playing Last of Us 1 for the first time. That game was truly one of the incredible, unmissable games. At number 2, God of War, the 2018 version. I could very easily pick any God of War for number 2 just because there literally isn't a single bad God of War game. But the one I've played the most times and beaten the most times is the one with 2018. It was the first one where it turned Kratos from this hateful and vengeful person into more of a human being with emotions. And you see him becoming a father and really trying to do the right thing and trying to teach his son the right way instead of the ways he used to do. And I got this thing because of that, you know, the axe from the God of War game. Throwing this thing in the game is so satisfying. It's, I think, one of the greatest weapons in any video game ever made. And of course, when I saw it, I had to buy this thing. To go from Greek mythology to Norse mythology is a completely different setting, a whole different dynamic, but the people at Santa Monica did it effortlessly. The fact that the camera literally doesn't cut a single time unless you die is incredible. They did a friggin' amazing job. The voice acting is amazing. Christopher Judge absolutely killed it. I think the greatest voice acting in any video game ever was in the God of War series. Either God of War 2018 or God of War Ragnarok. One of those two. Same characters still. And Christopher Judge did such an amazing, incredible job with that. To see Kratos all of a sudden have a son who is also just as badass as him is just awesome. And it really makes you feel for the guy. I mean, Kratos is always one of my favorite video game characters. But after the 2 latest God of War games, he literally became everyone's favorite video game character. And as much as I love God of War, there is one game that triumphed above everything else. The one video game that, after I beat it, no other game was as enjoyable because I had played the ultimate video game. There was nothing that could be as good as this, and that's Elden Ring. I was saying before, I'm a huge fan of the FromSoft games, and this is the ultimate FromSoft game. The open world, oh my god, it's incredibly massive. This world is huge on every level. It's a very difficult game. Not as hard as Sekiro, but nevertheless incredibly difficult. The first time I played this game, I put 130 hours into it in the first month. Just played the game all throughout. I tried to do everything in the first playthrough. I respect so many times. I tried so many different ways to play the game, and they were all just as fun. I loved the fact that there were so many dungeons to go to. It's an open world. You can literally go and explore anywhere you want to go to. Some of the most memorable bosses in any video game is in Elden Ring, but also some of the most memorable NPC enemies are in the game. I remember in Caelid, for example, those giant dogs that have the falcon heads. Those are incredibly scary. Or the falcons that have the giant dog heads, just because that's what Elden Ring does to you. It just takes everything and turns it around. Those things are running after you, and you're on your horse just trying to hightail it out of there, but they are chasing you, and next thing you know, your health bar is this long, you take one hit, boom, it goes to 0. No matter if you're level 100 or if you're level like 10. Just anyone can one-shot you at any point, so you can never be too comfortable. The music, of course, is amazing in that game. So many memorable boss fights with amazing music. No matter who you are, I highly, highly recommend playing Elden Ring because it will change the way you look at games. No loot boxes, no microtransactions. You buy the game and you have everything you need to play. And boom, off and running you are. The horse in the game, Torrent, is amazing. I think the best horse combat in any game I've played also. I wish I could forget the fact that I played that game so I could go back and play it again for the first time, because that first playthrough of Elden Ring is so special. And man, just thinking about it now, I'm getting emotional. Anyway, that's it for now. I'll see you next time.